everybody, and welcome back to the Wilbur Games YouTube channel where it's everything fantasy and of course football in general. Hope you're doing fantastically well, and as I said, welcome back. We're back for another UCL Fantasy video. Today we're going to be looking at drafting for Matchday 1 based quite possibly around the strategy we're going to choose. So you may see the draft that we're going to come up with and talk about now may not be identical to other people's drafts because ours is focusing purely on the strategy that we're laying out through the competition. Like I said in previous videos, make sure to check them out as well. We've done a bit of a strategy and fixtures video, and then we've also done how to play UCL Fantasy in the previous few days, so make sure to check them out as well. But our strategy is very much dictating how we're going to approach Matchday 1, so we'll touch on that in a moment. But like I said, check out the original, or should I say other content that we've put out over the last few days, guys. That should hopefully help you as well. And like I've said on all the videos, I appreciate you all being here and even viewing the videos are fantastic. But while you're here, if you could like and subscribe, it really helps the channel and it will keep you up to date with the content as well. I really appreciate you all. So we shall jump straight into it. So if you've checked out the other two videos we've done previously, especially the strategy and fixtures video, you'll have kind of understood, should I say, the kind of strategy that we're going to go for. So there's two kind of main strategies that we're looking at, and this very much dictates the kind of Matchday 1 setup that we've got. So we're currently swayed slightly more towards that I'm going to wildcard in Matchday 2 and then limitless in Matchday 6. The only other variant I'm currently considering of that is to limitless in Matchday 2 and then wildcard in Matchday 3 and then keep that throughout the whole group stage. So in both of those situations, in effect, Matchday 1 is a free hit. Just fully focus on every single fixture which we want to target in Matchday 1. Go all in, free assets to one, whatever you want from each of these teams that we think are going to get good results in Matchday 1. And you don't have to think about it again after that. So you'll see the draft is very much focused on that idea. So like I said, it could be different from other people's drafts that you'll see in other videos and other friends or people around fantasy communities. So just be wary of that before we start this. But before we just jump into the actual draft, focusing on the actual fixtures that we have in Matchday 1 and the kind of fixtures that we're going to be looking at to target certain teams. Hinted to on the previous video that I'm avoiding this AC Milan group and Newcastle group entirely for now. There's a chance at some point I'll probably own Mbappe. Currently in the draft I'm avoiding Mbappe. One of the key fixtures we highlighted we want to target, and the key groups to target, is this group with Leipzig and Man City in there. So there's a very high likelihood of quite a few Leipzig players you will see in the draft when we get to it. For a one game week only, Lazio win Atletico Madrid. It's quite a tight game, I think, because Atletico Madrid are away from home there. That's going to be quite a tight game, so I'm avoiding that one. And I'm quite appealed by the next two fixtures. Feyenoord have made a good start, should I say, to the new season, doing quite well in the leagues. Especially the last two games have scored quite a lot of goals. I think 5-1 and 6-1. And Celtic I don't trust, especially away in Europe, that they're going to get many good results. And the same with Barcelona against Antwerp. You'd expect that to be quite one-sided in Barcelona's favour. Shakhtar Donetsk, Porto, very much an avoid again for me, as we're playing basically as a free hit. But then another huge one here, Man City. You'd expect to do fantastic in that game. And I'm currently debating, I think that's probably one of the most challenging ones, which free assets you go for. I've currently got one in each position. I think I need to go a bit more into the attack and all out on that, but it's kind of difficult to choose the City attackers, as we'll discuss. And like I said, in this PSG Dortmund game, it's Mbappe or bust really for me. So I would say how the first day, the Tuesday the 19th, is set up. I personally think there's more fixtures to target on the 19th. I think currently I've got 9 players from the first day and then 6 from the second day. I might try and balance it out a bit, but I think they're a bit more appealing, the first day fixtures. There's still quite a few in the second day, but a lot more preference on the first day. So then we move on to the second day. A kind of thing that came into my mind when I was looking at the second day is the fact that you will see the Galatasaray and Real Madrid lineups So if you want to take some kind of punts on these players, Real Madrid have currently got a cheap left back who's playing for them in the starting line of the last few games, so I quite like the idea of him. If you want to take a punt on the Galatasaray attackers outside of Icardi, you'll know what the lineup's going to be, which is quite useful because you can have them on your bench, chilling, ready to come on if you need them. So that, I think, especially because you're kind of taking this as a free hit, maybe go wild on like one, maybe maximum two assets. Like you're not guaranteed starters, but will do well if they're on the pitch. So that's something to bear in mind. Again, Arsenal against PSV are quite like that. They've got two Arsenal players in the draft, so especially because we're at home, they want a strong start in the competition. And then there's some kind of like middly games where I'm like maybe a few assets, one or two assets from some of these games. Benfica are quite strong at home. I've considered some of their defenders. We'll discuss about them shortly. But I know Salzburg could also score, so I'm a bit in between on that. Real Sociedad into Milan. I feel like I'm maybe wanting to Milan defender, but it's maybe not the most optimal thing when I'm just using it as a free hit kind of week, so I may avoid that as well. And I'm very much on the fence with Braga and Napoli. I really want Osimhen or a fullback from Napoli, but some of the other fixtures are slightly more appealing. So again, I'm currently avoiding them entirely, which could be a bit of a mistake. But Napoli haven't started as strong this season as we saw last season, so that might be one we get away with. Seville lens, maybe a Seville tube defender, but it's not really eye catching to me to go for that on a free hit type. And then Bayern against Man United, currently avoiding again. If anything, I would go for a Bayern asset, maybe a Kane, a Kimmich along those lines, even Alphonso Davies, but I'm currently avoiding them in the current draft. It's just one of those ones. I feel there's a lot more high upside picks, although I know I will kind of be differentiating myself against some of the competition. I can see quite a few people going with Kane, for example, or a Kimmich, and Alphonso Davies is a great option. So coming to match day 2, we'll be discussing a lot of these teams because I'll be on the wild card, so fully expect me to kind of be loading up on those teams from match day 2 onwards. But for me, match day 1, playing the fixtures, trying to maximise those benefits, so fingers crossed that'll work for us. So like I said, yeah, I feel that there's a few very even games on that second day, so I think especially these top 3, I'd favour the home team to do quite well, and the fact that the first 2 games are the early kickoffs makes me feel I could take a few risks in there, especially, like I said, I'm eyeing up the Real Madrid left back. I think it's Garcia, who's played at 4.5 million. I'm quite intrigued by. So that's just covering the fixtures, guys. So we'll jump into a bit of the draft. So this is currently how we're lining up. This is definitely subject to change, so don't say this is set in stone when we're talking about this, guys. So you will see I've currently set it up how we will actually line it up. So we are doing it depending on the fixture date. As I said, we've got quite a lot currently on the 19th. So if we start with the front line, all of the fixtures are on the 19th for our front line. So Haaland, probably the most obvious choice in the game at this point. I think he's the second highest owned behind Bellingham. Just I think he's very close. 72% Bellingham, 71% Haaland. Yeah, so they're the 2 most highest owned players in the game. So they're both in there. I don't really need to sell you Haaland at all. And the kind of form we've seen Bellingham on so far for Real Madrid is just kind of not. I would say he's not exactly a no-brainer, but the form isn't at the minute. It's not worth risking going against him, and especially with his first fixture, I'm definitely going to have him in when we wildcard in match day 2. That could be different against Napoli, so that might be a way again we try to differentiate ourselves away from the crowd, but I think he'll be in and out of the team, if not in it for the whole time. So that's definitely one to not chance your arm against too often. So the rest of the front line, Lewandowski, I think the Champions League is just a bit of a different beast. It'll be on penalties, and the fixture they have in the first fixture at home to Antwerp, I feel like I want a bit of that kind of. If the goals are going to come, I expect a lot of them come through Lewandowski. They've got quite a lot of creative players, but I feel like he's the main man who will put the ball in the back of the net. So I'm currently on him. Slight, maybe might change. I think that's a bit more hesitant of it. Obviously, Haaland's locked in. These other 2 strikers are a bit more questionable because this third striker spot, I was full in on Alvarez to start with. And I'm very tempted to go back to Alvarez. I think it depends on how many minutes he gets in the Premier League game beforehand. I know he's currently actually playing tonight as we're filming this on Tuesday night away in Bolivia, so that could dictate his kind of minutes in the next few games. So this is definitely subject to change his spot. But I've currently got Jimenez in there, or Jimenez, however you pronounce that, for Feyenoord. Again, very much tagged in the fixtures, so they're at home to Celtic, and Feyenoord have had a pretty freak scoring start to the season. The last two games, 5 and 6 goals in there. He's scored 5 goals in his last 3 league matches. So he's in a good hot streak in terms of goal scoring form. So he's just one of those ones that is very much differential, 2% owned. He could easily become an Alvarez, but for that 1 week, he's kind of that player that I'm pretty much 99% sure he will start, unless there's some injury that he gets while he's on international duty. So that's what to keep an eye out for. But given that fixture, it's, in my mind, it's either going to be him or Alvarez in this slot currently. So currently on him, but it could easily change to Alvarez, and I might even consider downgrading Lewandowski and keeping him in there. So that's definitely, I think you'll see at least one of these two in the team, but Alvarez may easily come in there. So not set in stone, but I think they're the kind of pool of players I'm looking at. So I've got Rodri here, who is, of course, a bit of a, it's like one of those picks you'd never pick in like an FPL kind of game, but if you also play Sky Fantasy, you'll see how useful he is, especially with the ball recoveries. And I feel like this is the kind of game they're going to be all out attack. We've seen him join in the attacks quite a bit as well, so I can see City winning this like by 5 goals, maybe even more, unless they just take the foot off the gas after 2 or 3. So Rodri could easily just get an easy assist where he just taps it to someone on the edge of the box, or even get involved in the goals. He's quite good in the air from the set pieces. So he's not the most thrilling pick, but I think he'll definitely do the job, like I said, with the ball recoveries as well. They do quite well. Just talking about Timber, we've got here for final again. It's definitely just a fixture, but this is my kind of, I feel like you always have to have in midfield or attacker one kind of budget pick to balance the budget. He's very much in there just as a budget pick, playing most of the minutes for final so far. He tends to get a sub in the last 5-10 minutes from what I've seen, so he's kind of at least an 80-minute man. Kind of plays in midfield, can either be a bit more defensive or a bit more box to box depending on the fixture he's playing. So he could get the odd attacking return. In the recent game, he got a goal and assist, but there he's only 2 attacking returns of the season. So he might get lucky and then hopefully get some ball recoveries from playing in midfield as well. But he's very much a budget pick. I'm not expecting a lot from him, and I expect him to fully get subbed out unless he gets a attacking return. So then if we talk about one of the other kind of key fixtures I had in there to target, which was Leipzig away at Young Boys. So I'm slightly hesitant on this one, the fact that Leipzig are away, but I feel like it's kind of too good to turn down in terms of going for some of their assets. I'm very much on the fence if this double defence will stay. Having a look at how they've performed so far this season, it's actually, when I first looked at the data, I expected Rahm to be slightly better, but Hendricks has actually performed better so far this season. He's actually grabbed a goal as well. Both have kind of shared assists between them, but if you were talking pure fantasy points, Hendricks has got slightly more points. And I think the bit that kind of puts me off about the two in defence is that they're very good going forward, Leipzig, and I expect both of these to hardly be involved in attacking returns this season, but defensively, I'm not sure they're guaranteed to get a clean sheet, so I think I'm quite likely to go off Rahm and potentially go for someone else, maybe a Benfica defender who we haven't got in there currently, and that also gives me some coverage on the 20th. So currently got them both in. Hendricks so far this season has been the better asset, but it could easily, on any given game, be anything between them. So let's have a look in terms of selected by. I think they're both quite lowly owned, yeah. So Hendricks, this is what I kind of thought. I've seen Rahm play quite well previously and get the attacking returns, but then Hendricks is a bit less known, and you can see by that 1% ownership that if he does go off, it's kind of the one that people aren't going to see coming. So hopefully that kind of bit of more information that we've had at the start of the season makes it a bit more player for us to see and get a slight advantage, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then talking on the last Leipzig asset we've got in there, we've got Jory Simons in here. So I think there's kind of the debate in the midfield with Leipzig in terms of Simmons and Dani Olmo. Dani Olmo, as far as I'm aware, unless we get a fitness update, is likely to miss a few games. You just need to keep an eye on those fitness updates in terms of Olmo's fitness. But Simmons has been involved in all the attacking play. He's got a few attacking returns so far this season. So, given his value at 6.5, I might even be tempted to go with him alongside Olmo and then drop one of the defenders as we talked about. But is one to look out for Dani Olmo because he started very well this season. So that injury's probably come at a bad time for him as he was in a good streak. I'm pretty sure he got a hat trick in, might be against Bayern. He got the hat trick in the Super Cup final. But yeah, they've both been quite good in attack. And like I said, Leipzig have been doing well in general in attack. So I kind of want a little slice of at least some midfield or attackers from there. And it seems to be a lot of their midfielders contribute to the goals. So he's in there currently, but I'll be keeping an eye on Olmo's fitness updates. In goal for the first day, we've currently got ter Stegen, so kind of self-explanatory. Again, going back with the Lewandowski pick, it's purely on the fixture. I'm maybe even tempted to get in a defender as a double up in defence, given the playing Antwerp, and you'd expect them to do pretty well in that. So pretty self-explanatory. Again, I'm just thinking about it for a 1 week, but I think even throughout the whole competition, you could keep easily ter Stegen through the whole competition and do very well for you, given the fixtures they have. And then if we talk about our reserve goalkeeper that we've currently got, so I think this will be a very popular combination in terms of ter Stegen and Jan Sommer for Inter Milan, purely because of the kind of strong teams, especially Sommer is a very good price, and both of them have kind of favourable groups, especially Barcelona. Some of the Inter Milan fixtures might be a bit more difficult, especially away from home. That's what slightly puts me off the first week, that they're away from home. So if anything, Sommer could change to a bit more. I think on that second day, the goalkeepers aren't fantastic, especially the ones that play at home. So I could easily be tempted. I've looked at Galatasaray, I've looked at Benfica goalkeepers, and I'm like, I may change to that. But I'm currently on Sommer. We saw how well Inter Milan did defensively last season, so I'm half and half on that one. It doesn't overly make it. I'm hoping it doesn't make a big difference because I'm hoping ter Stegen does the job on the first day anyway and come on. So that's fingers crossed on that one. We've got two Arsenal assets lined up here for the second day. So we've got Saka and Saliba. So they've got PSV the first day. Like I said, I expect Arsenal to try and go full out on the first game, get a decent result in that game, get the confidence up, and they haven't been in Europe for quite a while, so they just need to, I think, establish themselves back in that competition, and they'll look to do that. So Saka, the kind of probably I'd say focal point in the attack, but it's probably not the right word because all of them could contribute. But he's I'd expect to be on penalties unless he decides to give one to Ødegaard again. But a lot of the play goes through him, and he generally would be involved in most of the attacking play. So he's the guy I'll be going for in their attack currently. And then Saliba, it could really be anyone from the Arsenal back line. I've probably got Saliba more in here because he's more likely to get tackles, and I'd argue the same with Gabriel, but Gabriel has had a bit of a kind of in and out of the team and not 100% able to play. So I've just gone to Saliba, it's kind of a bit more guaranteed that he's going to play the 90 as we've seen so far this season. And then maybe a slightly more rogue one again, but given how we've seen him play, I think, in European competitions and with other teams previously, Angelino is not the worst option. I was surprised he's actually 5.5 million, which is quite expensive, I thought, for him, given he's now at Galatasaray, only 1% owned, again at home to Copenhagen. So for me, that is a good fixture to target. We've seen him previously, can be on set pieces. He likes to get a crossing down the left hand side, could even get a goal now and then. He's currently got one goal already this season, so he's at one again. I feel like Hendricks and Angelino are kind of those two that are very much under the radar, and for Matchday 1 especially, like when you look at Angelino, if someone isn't kind of using this approach that we've got here, I don't think anyone, or 99% of the people, as you can see by the selected by, won't go for him, because if you look at that match day 2 to 5, that is not really what you want from a defender playing those teams. But for match day 1, it's just a kind of perfect kind of player in my opinion. So um, he's definitely going to be in for me, I think. Yeah, like I said, he's probably 0.5 million more expensive than I want him to be, but he's definitely in there for me. Um, so yeah, I like the look of him. So I'm pretty happy with those outfield players on the bench. Some may change, but I'm hoping I don't have to rely on him. And there might be a few tweaks still to the 11. I'm quite set on this midfield unless we get something about Danny Olmo, and we might change him. Like I said, it's kind of between Lewandowski and Jimenez who we go for here. Alvarez may come in, which will also affect probably Ruben Diaz. We might make a change to maybe a Barcelona defender, and we may drop one of these Leipzig players for potentially a Benfica defender. We had quite good success with Benfica last season. Probably two decent assets that we have in there that could possibly go for around the same kind of price. So they're the kind of options I'm weighing up. But I don't think, if I was saying now, I'd say I'd probably make maybe 3 changes to this team. But it also depends on like fitness and minutes of players. So I think Alvarez's kind of minutes, Almo's updates on his injury, they're the kind of things, and then we might just have a few movements with a Leipzig defender out, perhaps, and then, like I said, with the second goalkeeper. But that's not far off. I'd say it's probably 85 to 90% there how we will end up. Yeah, it's just if I want to fully attack that City fixture, which I think is just too big a temptation to not go with, in my opinion. So definitely one to look out for. But there we go, guys. I think that kind of summarize where I'm currently at. Hopefully this has been useful, and especially, like I said, you've got to definitely be thinking about strategy when you go into this match day 1. Kind of have, it doesn't have to be fully set in stone, but have a kind of draft idea of how you want to go about using your chips, your limitless and your wildcard. If you're not fully aware of how your chips can be used and ideally when you'd use them, make sure you check out the strategy pod that we did just yesterday. So check out that previous upload. And if you're not familiar with UCL Fantasy, we've also done a bit of how to UCL Fantasy in the last few days as well. So make sure to check that one out as well, guys. But if you've got, like I always say, if you've got any comments or questions, make sure you drop them in the comments. I'm more than happy to help you with your match day 1 drafts, because it's one of those, especially if you're not wildcarding early, there might be a few picks you're a bit unsure on. So if you need any help, I can more than be, well, I shouldn't say, be more than happy to help you with that, guys. So yeah, if you've got any issues that you have with your teams before the deadline, make sure you let me know. And hopefully we have a very prosperous season together. I'm aiming, like I said, last season we got just within the top 1K, so I'm hoping to get that 3 digits again. We can dream, can't we? So good luck to you all before match day 1, and let's all do well together. And like I said earlier in the video, I appreciate you all for watching, and if you would, while you're here, just on the way out, like and subscribe, I would really appreciate that, and I'll keep you up to date with all the content that we have on the channel. We'll try and do kind of these videos every single match day and just keep you in the loop with kind of transfers and people we want to be bringing in. But for now, guys, make sure you check out the previous videos, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your day.